All right, so we're starting our live stream here for Grandma Miriam Spang's memorial gathering, and this is our view. We're having this gathering at what's called Pines Park in Dana Point, and we'll give you a crowd shot here. Everyone's just getting kind of ready here. We still have our food set up, and our chaplain is going to be Chaplain Pondo, who's a local to the area. Chaplain Pondo here. Here's Chaplain Pondo. Hi there. Thank you. Okay. So, for anyone that wonders, I'm Darren Spang. I am Alfred Randall Spang's son, Karen Spang's son, and Miriam and Alfred Spang's grandson, in case you were wondering. And since Grandma did spend the last 10 years, or 10 years and then 5 years prior to that down in the Orange County area, we decided to have our memorial here at this beautiful, amazing park overlooking the area, overlooking the beautiful ocean. Here's some of our memorial items here. We printed some somewhat recent pictures of our times with Grandma. I know it's probably hard to see. And here we have Al and Miriam together again. And a high school graduation picture from Grandma. And some recent pictures from San Diego about 2 years ago from Cafe Coyote and the Scripps Aquarium in San Diego, which Grandma loved. We're live. Just to let everyone know, we're live right now. So people on the East Coast are listening. Hey, there's Christian. Suck it in.
Clinch.
And we're going to try to add a little bit of light, but it's extremely bright. So it may not work because it's very overpowering the sun is not easy. All right.
So we're just going to put the prettiest person in front of this? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Everybody just sees you, Jennifer. Don't worry. You look glowing.
Just stay there.
Just stay there.
We're done, right?
We're happy. Everybody's good. She looks a lot better than either of us.
Hey, Gail. It definitely does look like a beautiful day. It is beautiful. Is it beautiful or what?
It is.
It was supposed to be 55 degrees today, and it's like 85 or 75. It's like perfect, right?
Okay, we're going to get started. Everybody comfortable? Everybody here? And back east, welcome. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
You hear me? Great. Today we want to welcome you to the celebration of life of Miriam Spang on this day, March 19th, 2021. I'm Pastor Pondo, community chaplain in St. Clemente here, and it's just an honor to celebrate a long, beautiful, enduring life as Miriam Lang provided for all of us to witness. On behalf of Miriam's family, you are all part of that family. A warm welcome to all of you who have traveled far and near, and those of you that are watching live stream. Truly may you feel the warmth of God on this day through all of us here showing our love and celebration of life. Let's pray. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for a life, so many years that she endured. She proceeded to get to her final destination, her resting place in your arms. The Church Triumphant has gathered her, and they celebrate her, and we just pray as a family we can remember the great things that she did during the easy times, and more so in the difficult times when she was the rock of this family. And such be it, such a great-grandmother, grandmother, great-great-grandmother, what a wonderful person that you provided in this lifetime. Thank you for this beautiful day, beautiful sun, and the love that she shared in both coasts, far and wide. We pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Some of the verses and hopes and promises of Grandma Miriam were given to me by Jennifer and others too, and I thought they were great verses because they share a little bit about a hope that we all share about being together again, somewhere, somehow, that there's something more than sitting in a park in Southern California on a beautiful day, that we live life here, but the moment that we take our last breath, like Miriam did, we all wonder, where's she at now, right? I lost my dad 5 years ago, and I wonder, God, I wonder what he's doing now. And I talk to him all the time, which some of you can too. And that's how you get your advice. You kind of wonder what Miriam would do. But she had this way about her that we shared today. I know that her son will share, and I also know that some of you have an opportunity to share too. One of the verses that was given to me was Romans 8 and John 14. Romans 8 is one of my favorite verses too. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, no angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, or anything else in creation, will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Jesus Christ our Lord. That separation, I think, is what Miriam conquered, because when she endured the trials of life, the hardships of life, and then being the glue that holds us all together as a family, she's the one that put God first so that nothing can separate the family. So the stories that I get, very short stories, because I haven't known this family for a long time. I've been talking to Jennifer for about a month. But also, as I kind of read the stories coming in about her, and Jennifer and I talked one night in length about her, I wanted to know about her, because I heard a little bit, and I wanted to know more. Another verse, John 14, 1 through 3, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me, Jesus. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, I would have not told you so. I'm going there to offer you, I know this is going to say Rome, prepare a place for you. And I will prepare a place for you. I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may also be where I am. And that's a great scripture, because I don't want to be floating out in space in an area where there's no connection to God. You know, I want to be in the presence of God. And we overthink God, we can get lost, because God is so huge and enormous that He cares for each one of us. He has this relationship with all of us. And life is not easy. Life is hard. But life can be so much filled with joy, especially when you live a life following God. Because God promises, I know in the book of Miriam, that if you stay close to Him, you'll live a long, prosperous life. And I'm 61. I hope I make it to 96. Oh my gosh. I keep thinking that's a lot of years from now. And I might not be in too great physical health, but she was pretty good, for most of her life. What a blessing. What a blessing.
Amen.
Let's hear a little bit about Miriam. I know you guys know this, but just her start and her life. Miriam Spang, 96, of San Marcos, California, formerly from Allentown, Pennsylvania, went home to be with her Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, on Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. In Silvergate Suites, she was surrounded by her loving family. Born November 5th, 1924 in Allentown, Pennsylvania. She was the second of 5 girls born to Stanley and Elise Kunkel Ziegler. She was the loving wife of Alfred C. Spang, who passed away June 4th, 2012. They celebrated 68 years of marriage and enjoyed traveling extensively to many countries. She graduated from Allentown High School, class of 1942. She first worked as a draftsman on the Volt-T aircraft, and later moved to California, and was the first woman draftsman ever hired at Aerojet General in Azusa, California. Miriam was a very gifted artist, painting many beautiful oils and watercolor scenes. She also was an outstanding athlete, competitive in many sports. She excelled at golf and won many couples trophies in California tournaments. I think that's where she learned her patience if she played golf, right? Miriam is survived by 2 sons, Alfred Randall of Las Vegas, Nevada, and Ronald Lee and his wife Barbara of Vista, California. 4 grandchildren, Darren, Ronnie Ann, Jennifer, and our late grandson Corey. Great-grandchildren, Madeline, Kristen, Roman, Michelle, Chance, Courtney, Travis, and Austin. She is also survived by 2 great-grandchildren, Sam and Barrett. She was preceded in death by 2 sisters, Marjorie Kaufman Clarence of Valentine, Pennsylvania, and Bet Witherhold of Henry of Ellington, Florida. She also survived by 2 sisters, Marilyn Clymer Paul of Allentown and Nancy Taylor Neal of Sunny Hills, Pennsylvania. What a great story, but there's so much more that I know, Ron, you're going to be sharing too, and others can share some things. I know I want to hear a few things too. Another verse that's really important is Corinthians 13:1 and 1 Corinthians 13:13. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. But now abide faith, hope, love. These 3, the greatest of these is love. I think I've heard from many family members about her love. And I know for great-grandmothers, grandmothers, sisters, wives, moms, there's nothing like a stable mom that holds you together. And we learn from that in our own lives. How does she get through the difficult times and hold us all together? She put everything aside, I think, just to make sure that you guys all stayed alone. I think one of the promises for someone that lives such a long life is that you want to honor her by loving each other as you are, and making amends, and coming together and celebrating. We only have so many days to sit in the sunshine. And then we go to the glorious sun that can't even explain the glory that awaits us. For those of you that believe.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
We're going to have Ron come up, and he's going to share some incredible things about Miriam.
Thank you, and thank you to all the family who couldn't be here today. Some of my mother's offspring couldn't make it today for one reason or another. And then, of course, we have the Zieglers back on the East Coast, Allentown and elsewhere. We have Spangs, the East Coast Spangs. Those are the same Spangs. Someday we need to meet them. Those people have their act together. And we also have our in-laws, the Sputic family, and we want to greet them. And then there's others, individuals and families who said they may check in on Facebook Live with us. And I want to thank Jennifer, Darren, Gloria, and the others who helped put this together on such short notice. Very impressive. How can you pick a better location? Nice going. Here's a few highlights that come to my mind. I'd really like to hear others, but to me, one of the top of the list with my mother is loving relationships. How many people do we know that were married 68 years with a husband and wife still loved each other, still talk with each other? I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. My parents had a loving relationship. The Zieglers. My mother has loving relationships with the Ziegler family to this day. In fact, Aunt Nancy, when I called her the day after your grandma died, she told me a story about a kindness my mother did decades ago. She broke down in tears relating it. I broke down in tears hearing it. She touched a lot of hearts. That doesn't mention Aunt Betty, who passed away as a weather hold in Florida. And that was such a close tie there. My brother and I grew up around those people. We're still in touch with them. When Grandpa Al died 9 years ago, that family, among others, rallied to help. Many others did. And of course, her in-laws. She's on good terms with her in-laws. She loved her mother-in-law. How often do we hear that?
Right.
That's not an everyday thing, is it? And all the rest of them. And of course, her offspring. We're here, many friends. When my father died 9 years ago in Allentown, I didn't know what to do. They had 5 properties in escrow, 7 more ready to come along. There was trusts involved, tangible personal property, collectibles, statutes, dementia to deal with. Honestly, I was about a half a sandwich shy of a picnic mentally. And so I bumped into somebody in town in the oddest of places named Debbie and Darbin Skeens and Vince Herbert. And I got to talking with them. They asked me what the problem was. I said, I don't know anything about trusts. I don't know anything about real estate. And Debbie and Darbin Skeens said, we do. We own a real estate firm, the biggest one in Allentown. We write trusts all the time. That's what happens with real estate. And they said, who died? I said, my father. He said, what was his name? I said, Al Spang. He said, really? What was your mother's name? I said, Miriam Spang. He said, I knew him. He said, I didn't know him in Allentown. I knew him in California. I've stayed in their Palm Desert condo. I've golfed with them. I've had dinner with them. And from then on, they adopted me almost for the 6 months I was there helping to settle these things. This is just a friend out of nowhere. And there was one other piece. Oh, he said, is that all? Are those all your problems? I said, well, I could go on a while. But I said, tangible personal property. They have collectibles of all kinds. I said, I have no clue. He said, have you met my son-in-law, Wolf? I said, never heard of him. He said, Wolf deals with an international organization on the East Coast dealing with tangible personal property. I'll introduce you to him shortly. So, friends like that, you couldn't buy them. And that's what happened there. Next item. You could not know my mother and not know her love for art and culture. Period. I mean, it just screamed out. Painting, piano, singing. Here's something you may not know. I'd be with my mother, and Darren, you spent a lot of time with her. I wonder if you had this happen or any of the others. She'd be driving along on a cloudy day and look up, I see a teddy bear. I'm looking around, I don't see any teddy bears. Yes, Travis, the cloud formations. She saw art everywhere, in gardens, in buildings. It kind of opened my mind. I thought life was a spreadsheet. Everything's about numbers. Not to your grandma. No. She saw art, and she lingered with it, appreciated it, and reflected on the artist behind the art, the designer behind the design. When we see a sunset here later tonight, think about it. That's a piece of art. A week from now, on a clear day, the sunset here will be followed momentarily by a full moon in the east. If that doesn't touch you and get you thinking, I don't think anything will. We won't be here, I don't think, a week from now, unless Darren's got food. What?
You also mentioned that today is the equinox. Same exact that you're getting at.
Equinox, I wasn't going to mention it.
Yes.
But anyway, Grandma saw those things, didn't just dismiss them. It influenced her thinking and her attitude and her actions. Shouldn't we do the same? Instead of just going by, oh, well, what a lovely day, think about it. How about her accomplishments? We could spend an hour on that. We've talked about the sports. We talked about being the first female draftsperson at Aerojet. Grandma Barbara passed out these little note things that Grandma Miriam had her own little business, started from scratch. It wasn't a big deal. She didn't want it to be a big deal. She did it as a kindness, and she made it work. Miriam's Dream. Who knows what Miriam's Dream is about? Anybody? Jennifer knows. In 2008, was it? She rounded up the family from both coasts and places scattered everywhere and organized a reunion of the family that had been scattered when she moved out to California in 1954. Go figure. This woman's struggling with dementia, and it was written up in the local newspapers. That was an accomplishment. Trust Amendment 5. I'll be brief on this because most of them have heard this before, but after Grandpa Al died 9 years ago, it wasn't too long, asked Grandma Barbara, and she started saying the one thing I didn't want to hear. I want to change the will. I want to change the world. She beat that drum for a long time. And, you know, I kept trying to change the subject. Redirect, that's what you do with dementia people. Get their mind on. We tried that for 3 years. She kept beating the drum. Finally, we listened. Wells Fargo wouldn't listen. Her attorney in Pennsylvania wouldn't listen. We listened, and she said, I think we're giving more to charity than we should be. And after about a year of researching the files, we found my father had set up a second trust for charities so that he could have enough money left for you people. At age 91 and a half, Grandma, with a new attorney in Orange County up in Anaheim, went before, well, she didn't go personally, but her attorney did. Ronnie was there, I was there. She won a case against some charities with lawyers, some of whom objected. She said, check the records. We did. We found the receipts. They cashed the checks. She won the family benefits. That was no small thing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank her.
No.
Adversity and
There's
how...
a lot of stress for you too.
A lot of stress for me too?
Yeah.
It's okay to tip.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Don't
Take
play
the
with
compliment
don't play with
and
matches.
Keep going.
Don't play with matches.
Adversity and how she dealt with it. We could spend an hour on this. Breast cancer at a young age. Vasectomy, one side. Did my mother sit there and mope and cry? I mean, I would have been sitting there wanting a parade and a speech by the mayor. No, that's not what she did. She went back to the hospital and taught the women after how to cope with it. That was something. How about her subarachnoid brain hemorrhage in San Clemente in 2001? With my father's help, she got coaching help and got a driver's license again. Not in California. They were too smart. She went back to Pennsylvania. Don't let anybody drive. She was driving, having trouble knowing where she was going, but she fought through it. Amazing. Dementia. I'm telling you, this is not a walk in the park. Her pacemaker, neuropathy, that's fallen asleep whether you want to or not. Because of that, the place she stayed, shipped her on trips to the emergency room one after the other. All she was doing was falling asleep. She'd done it all her life. They were just, you know, concerned about a lawsuit. She went to the ER a lot. How about her hip fracture about 3.5 years ago? Garden 4 hip fracture, the worst kind. They said she'll never walk. Ah, are you kidding me? Her doctor got her a home nurse. Now, what I don't think he knew this. It was just a fluke. The home nurse. Am I going too long? Am I going too long? Anybody?
No, keep going.
Oh, doing okay. Okay. Because we have to go to a commercial break, don't we? No.
We have to pay. Yeah, absolutely. We need to pay for this airtime. I hope you brought your checkbook.
My mother has this Garden 4 hip surgery, the worst kind. We go on in for the surgery. I wasn't even going to mention this, but it comes to mind. This is about a week after Corey passed away. And the surgeon comes back. He's who's going to operate on my mother. Today or tomorrow's his last day. He lost a family member in death, and he couldn't cope with it. So we're sitting there consoling each other. I forgot to tell you that, before the surgery. Well, she goes ahead and gets the surgery. I already told you, they said she's not going to walk. So I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. Her doctor gets his home nurse care. This guy was a handsome, retired French-Canadian hockey player with muscles 3 times the size of Travis's leg. And he was a nice guy. My mother says, what do you want me to do? He'd tell her, leg lifts, how high? Jumping spreads, bending, look, she did it all. Weeks later, she's walking. They said she'd never do anything again. Amazing. It did help to have the handsome French-Canadian. COVID, she was the only one in her unit that survived it for a time. Amazing. Acceptance. This to me is a big deal. We're not a big group here. Spang family's not big. But as Darren has said, and I agree with this, we're a diverse group. Politically, religiously, lifestyle. I mean, you name it, we're pretty far apart. Now, how did Grandma deal with this? She accepted people and tried to heal where she could. If any one of us got on the outs, and I see several faces this applies to, where we weren't talked to for a while by the disciplinarian of the family, Grandma would be working behind the scenes to heal this. She was the neck that turned the head. So anyway, You know, that pretty much summarizes it, but her loving relationships, I think, had a lot to do. She had a good heart, good motives, good intention, a clean conscience from it. I think that helped sustain her. So thank you again for attending. I'm sorry for being so long-winded.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want to share a story or two?
Aaron, do you want to go next?
You want to come on up?
I thought you were going to go.
I thought we were going to go in order of age.
Okay.
And you're over.
Okay.
Age before beauty,
Flexible
Darren.
here.
Okay.
Age before beauty. Oh. You can go smack her
you.
now.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent story.
Yep.
Okay. In perfect fitting with my normal personality, I'm completely unprepared for this. I have not spent even 1 minute preparing my thoughts, which is kind of like how I like to operate. I'm a spontaneous kind of guy. So I'm Darren Spang, the son of Karen Spang and Alfred Randall Spang, also known as Randy to most everyone. And Grandma Miriam was my grandmother for my entire life. So, Grandma Miriam, absolutely amazing. I was blessed with two wonderful grandmothers, both of whom lived until very, very full lives. One lived until 88, and then Grandma Miriam until 96. Absolutely amazing. And when we were amazing, we had an amazing coincidence on her very last day on this earth. We had a Zoom meeting, as we had every week, live Zoom meeting from the Silvergate Memory Care Facility in San Marcos. And this time it was a very different type of meeting. It was obvious that she was in very close to the end of life. And it was, it was sad because I think everyone that was there, Ron and Barbara were there in person, but everyone else was attending via Zoom, and I think we could tell that there wasn't much longer to go. So we all got an opportunity to share on that last day. And Grandma, we weren't sure if she was actually hearing us or not, because she seemed to be struggling and not responding. But we all, Jennifer wisely came up with an idea that we all share an idea or a story that Grandma might respond to and see if she actually could hear us. And so we all started sharing. And I'll just relate to you guys here the story that I told, which is one of my fondest memories, because Grandma and I, we had so many similarities. We were both Scorpios. We were both born in November. Grandma was born 1 week before me, November 5th, and I was born November 12th. And so we consequently, Grandma was also very wise about practicality, so we always celebrated our birthdays together. So we didn't have to make two trips, right? And it worked out perfectly. And so I shared my fond memories of those birthday celebrations where we got to have our exchange, and then Grandma would always ask me, Darren, what do you want for your birthday, a cake or a pie? And I said, well, me, I prefer pie over cake. It's, pie has so many more possibilities. I just prefer pie over cake. Almost all the time. Grandma would be like, that's perfect. So she'd get her Marie calendars, usually Boston cream pie or something like that, one of our favorites. And when I told that story, Grandma responded. She actually, for the first moment in the entire Zoom call, responded and moved. And she moved her mouth significantly. She actually closed her mouth. when it was open before, and it looked like she was struggling for air. And she actually closed her mouth. And I think everyone that was there took that as a sign that she actually heard me. That's a really special memory for me. I was really touched, and you know, only God knows if she really was able to hear. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the only moment she responded during that entire Zoom call, is when I relayed that story about how special those memories were of celebrating our birthdays together. Grandma and me both shared similar passions about music, the arts, gardening. We really loved like the same games. We loved Clue and Battleship and Monopoly. We had so many things that were similar about our personalities, and you know. But the one thing I have to say I cannot even begin to match up to Grandma Miriam on was her incredible, caring, and passionate passion for family. She was there for everybody at all times. She was always in a difficult position because she had to play the peacemaker in the family. Everyone knows Grandma was the peacemaker. She was thrust into many difficult situations through the years where she had to make the peace. And I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. We don't need to go into details, but that was a tough position to be in. And Grandma always rose to the occasion, and she tried to help everyone despite our extreme diversity in the family. As Uncle Ron said, we come from every conceivable background despite our relatively small size, and we actually covered all four corners of the country at one point before Corey's untimely passing. We had Seattle,
I'll be right there. Come on, give me my credit.
Yeah, Oregon.
I'm Oregon.
Oregon.
Fucking on the border.
We had Corey in Seattle, Uncle Ron down in San Diego, along with Grandma, the Allentown family back there in the Northeast, and then Jennifer and the whole family in the Southeast down in Atlanta. So despite our great physical distance, we're still close as a family, and we all love each other. And can't begin to compare to what Grandma Miriam did, but I think she set a high bar for us all to aim for in terms of how deeply she cared for everybody, no matter how challenging that situation was. And that's all I have for you today.
Good job.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Okay. Grandma says her statement, and then I'll see. Can you see this?
By Nancy. And so here it goes. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, you can.
Miriam Spang, Mimi, what a wonderful sister you were to your four siblings. You were always so kind and loving to everyone you met. Your life touched many others at the Nazarene Church, at your work, and at home with the Ziegler family. We played many games at the dining room table: Monopoly, Sorry, Parcheesi. I don't remember who won most of them, but what mattered most was the time spent with one another. I love looking at the pictures our mother took of the family, outside on the lawn or around the dining room table at holidays. Whenever someone came to visit us, we had a picture taken with wonderful memories. You also married a man who was the life of the party. Whenever Alfred Spang was with us, we were laughing and giggling. We all have wonderful memories. You were the only sister who took me to the movie. We saw William Bennett in the Harry Ape, and I was haunted for days after that movie. But I did survive. You would also take me to the Lehigh Market, a block away from our home at 1323 Lehigh Street, and buy me all the ice cream cones I could eat. Thank you for making my day. We missed you very much when you moved to California after Randy and Ronnie were born. Grandmother Ziegler was heartbroken. She didn't have her 2 grandsons to take care of anymore. Little did we know that we were your sisters would come out to visit you at West Covina in Palm Desert in '88. We had so much fun then. Then in '89, we all traveled to Henry and Bet's home in Ellington, Florida. We have lots of photos of our visits. We were always laughing, playing games, and enjoying one another. Then you and Al moved back to Ellington around 2003. We continued having fun and laughing. Our last big reunion was in the summer of 2005 at Lindbergh Park, close to your home in Kingsbridge Lane. Thank you, Miriam, for your love, wonderful friendship, and kindness shown to all who knew and loved you, Nancy and all the sisters.
Very nice.
Thank you guys all for coming from Idaho, Oregon, Texas, California, Georgia, and joining us from Pennsylvania, a place I might have missed. I feel privileged to have known Grandma Miriam. I think the most endearing things, by the way, I'm Jennifer, in case you don't know. I just realized that people might not know who I am. I'm Jennifer, I'm one of her grandchildren. And when we talk about Grandma Miriam, I think we talk about her endearing and never-ending and her unconditional love for everybody, her hospitality, and her really warm heart, her laughter. It's unforgettable. But what I want to share with you is something that I don't know if everybody knows. So you all know those things. But while Grandma was starting to go through Alzheimer's, I would ask her about her upbringing to help her with her memory, but also I enjoyed hearing the stories. And so Grandma would tell me about how she grew up with Elsie Ziegler, who was a single mom at the time who raised 5 girls in the Great Depression. And the way that Grandma described them, I thought they had everything until the family reunion. I saw this very modest house that they grew up in. And when we were there for the reunion, I realized what a modest upbringing they had. And Grandma would tell us that because they didn't have a lot of money, they would have to grow their own food in the garden, and her mother ironed clothes. The girls didn't have enough money. They didn't have enough money for a change of clothes, for work clothes, so they would wear their swimming suits when they would mow the lawn. And there was a factory next door where the men driving by would honk their horn and beep at the beautiful 5 teenage women doing yard work. But she never complained about these things. She spoke about them with joy and compassion, like everything in life. She also spoke very fondly of Aunt Beulah. Thank you, Beulah. Aunt Beulah was Stanley Ziegler, her father's aunt, and unfortunately she could not have, the way Grandma would tell the story, she couldn't bear children, so she would come to Elsie's house and bring gifts, Grandma said, like Santa Claus, to all the girls. And Grandma said, unfortunately, I was second in line because the clothes got worn out by the time they passed down the line and got patched. And she said that Grandma always loved that sure love that she got. And Elsie actually gifted the oldest, Margie, singing lessons, and she gifted Grandma art lessons, which ended up being why Grandma got hired as the first woman at Aerojet, and how Grandma was able to put Grandpa through college. So, you know, if you really think about just that one act of kindness, how much that's changed all of our lives years later. So I just want to take a moment not only to honor Grandma Miriam and her loving kindness, but also, as Grandma shared, it wasn't just from herself. She's sharing love that she received from her sisters. They were so close. Her mother, Elsie, her aunt, Beulah, and I feel that we all if we want to honor her well, we need to love other people well. Ronnie was sharing with us in preparation for today, and so I want to speak on Ronnie's behalf, of a time when he was really scared and he was really alone, and he felt that there was nobody who understood his pain. And Grandma came to a difficult place to see him, as Grandma always would. You could never be too far gone for Grandma not to love you and for Grandma not to go out of her way and be there for you. So Grandma met Ronnie. He said, "I'm afraid," or she said, "I'm afraid." And Grandma said, "The people around you are also afraid," because Grandma wanted him to have compassion for those. Grandma wanted her, to have compassion for those that surrounded Ronnie as well. And I thought that was just so pure and so loving for Grandma's compassion for everybody. When Darren and would take Grandma out to In-N-Out, we had in recent years we had an opportunity to join. There's little children that Grandma didn't even know, and she just reached out to them. It was almost like no child was going to get by Grandma without her chit-chatting with them and talking with them, and could be a total stranger and she would just love them so well. So yeah, that's a couple of memories I wanted to share about her from the past of, I think, why she was the way she was. But also just one more thing, and that's Christmases. Who all remembers the Christmases at Grandma's house? The hostess with the mostest, right? It felt like an ocean of presents, even in her years in her 70s, all by herself. She would make food for all of us, and if you think about that now, what a physical feat that must have been. But she would never not sacrifice for us that way, and I just am so grateful. I'm so blessed that we all have her in our life, and I just hope that we can all pass it on to other people in celebrating the love that we all receive. So I thank you all from Grandma's extended family, and I love you all who are here. We love you all, and we thank you for celebrating Grandma with us today.
Anybody else would like to share?
Everybody here obviously knows me. For those of you online, I'm Jennifer's daughter. I'm Courtney. And I just wanted to share, just like we've talked about today, the legacy of love that Grandma has given to all of us. It didn't matter if you were going through one of the hardest times, like my mom shared for Ronnie, or if you were a kid who got bullied a lot, who was awkward and different. I got picked on so much as a kid, and it didn't matter when I went to Grandma's. I got treated with all the love in the world, and I know that it didn't matter if, say, Christian and I were fighting over something. Grandma was still going to sit there and give us love no matter what, and she made sure that our holidays, our birthdays, and every moment that we had with her was beautiful. And we all have these individual memories with her of going to the beach, or for Grandma, I mean, she listened to NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, which I know was a serious sacrifice. She would listen to Britney Spears because she knew that it made me happy. And I may be 29 now, but I know that I want to pass on that legacy of love that she gave me, so that my kids and my great-grandkids and all the generations forward will know the name Miriam Spang and will remember her legacy of love forever. That was all.
Thank you.
Oh, it's easy. Come on.
One of those is his. He's gonna try.
3, 2, 1. Okay.
Christian, Travis, Austin.
Well, I know there's a lot of stories. You guys could go on and on with stories, but getting up and talking in front of people is never easy.
It's never easy.
For anybody. I left a service coming over here, and You know, it was like, it's tough. It's a lot easier when you have, 96 years. Courtney, right? Courtney kind of summed up, made a summation of what I was going to say about family, and all of you are like, I walked into my family. I mean, we got CNN on upstairs, Fox on downstairs. We've got, just divide. I've got Mormon first cousins. I got Jehovah's Witnesses that are distant cousins. I've got evangelicals that are cousins. I got Catholic cousins. But what Miriam did is kind of like what Courtney's saying. What's lost in this generation is that there's not that person that steps in and says, "I'm going to be the peacemaker. I'm going to try to just love on everybody like she did," and take over the mantle of why families stick together. Because sometimes when you lose somebody like Miriam, it's very easy for everybody to go their own ways instead of just getting closer, because life is so short. And my dad used to tell me, "Oh, you don't even know," you probably remember this, "you don't even know how fast life goes." Well, I don't know how old you guys are, but I have a 25-year-old and a 28-year-old. I've been telling him that, and now my son's going to be almost 30, 29 to 30. He's like, "Well, Dad, I'm halfway to 60. And that's how you measure.
Wait till he gets in his 40s.
But you know what I mean? You
Wait till he gets in his 40s.
Losing such a matriarch of a family as, in your own life, is who's next. And I'm going to pass. I lost my dad in '85. I'm his son. I'm next. And I'm preparing my own self for what happens after that last breath. And I've seen so many people pass in my 30 years as a pastor, bedside, that something amazing happens. You feel the spirit leave the body. You sense it. And then you look at the empty tent, and to be absent from the body is to be present with our Lord. And that's what she put all her markers on. And people think that believers have to be perfect, and they're not. And it doesn't matter what faith you come from. Guess what? We are of the human, designed by God, and we're flawed. We're flawed. That's why we need a God, a higher power, if you will, something to tap into. And I'll tell you, hearing the stories about what Miriam had to go through, if you don't think she was on her knees, if you don't think she was crying out to her God to bring the family together, and for her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, to have a covering of helps and direction for you, you're crazy. She did. Can't imagine, like my mom, probably some tears thrown in there for her beloved family. Just wanting peace and love and kindness, generosity. You're a normal family, so don't believe your God, our family is so skewed this with that. You're normal. You're absolutely normal. I'm talking from Southern California, and I'll tell you, more people don't realize the special thing you have by putting everything aside and putting the families first, and the love and the victories, and coming together on the harder times, the defeats, that you lift each other up. Because once you think that it'll never happen to you, guess what? It happens to you. Or it happens to your child. Or it happens to a grandson, granddaughter. And so I think what Miriam leaves is such a strong legacy that if someone doesn't step in, that you could lose it. Someone that takes that helps, that God gives us to put together that party, put together a reunion, to just make sure it happens. And then the rest of the family has to encourage that person. I don't care who it is, but if you just leave it all on that one person, this is a great line that you give that one person. What can I do to help? How can I step in? How can I belong to the organization of this family to make these times? Can you imagine all the family out here? You guys could have a giant celebration right here and catch up and see how people are doing and find out about how life's going. And that's the beauty of having a tight family. Sometimes you scatter, then you come back. That's life too. My daughter lives in Brooklyn for the last 4 months. She's scattered. I'm like, oh, come back. But it's like moving to California, I imagine, right? From PA. It's like, you know, that time, you can't make up that time. So when you are together, you got to jump on that time and make it, you know, valuable and positive and kind and fun. Life is really boring. I was telling Jennifer about how about once a month in the summertime, we come right to this park, set up a long table, invite 8 friends, and we bring our dinner, and we enjoy this. It's free too, except for the dinner. You know? That's all it takes. This is a multi-million-dollar deal here.
Yeah, it is.
And this is what you see with God. We're floating in a planet, God's looking down, and we're alive to live.
You get a chance. A little snippet when you're done.
Yes. Once you come up, give a snippet when I'm done. And, you know, it's something where you meet somebody you don't know from all over the United States, but we have so much in common. You know, I have children, I have a wife, I have my mom, and then I have cousins, I have aunts and uncles, and we're not perfect. And there's more than one Miriam in my family. There's a couple, a few. Because even the Miriam's getting argued in. You know? And usually they're so humble that they give in and they come out and they apologize. Or they say, hey, you know what? This isn't worth it. But she's taught you guys a lot. And you never forget that. So, you know, they used to say out here, you know, what would Jesus do? It's like, what would Miriam do? You know, how would she react in this? How would she extend kindness in this situation? And reaching out to the youngers. You know, life that we knew it, where you drank out of the hose, the street lights went on, you're supposed to be home. You never talked back to your parents. You didn't have iPhones. You didn't have computers. So what you have to get back to is this family stuff. Because there's nothing like touching, feeling, laughing, and hearing each other. And I'm sure Miriam just probably didn't like the technical stuff. She wanted you there. She wanted to kiss you and hold you, I'm sure. And just be in the presence of family. So I think the honor today is, I feel a commitment here that you guys want to carry that on. It was too important just to just walk away from and keep that strong bond together. And then when somebody's down, you lift them up. You know, on any hard day, I always tell people, you know, that person is giving the best they can, obviously. Sometimes it's not good enough, but it's their best. And accept them at that. And that's how Miriam probably shared her love. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you had it all together or if you were falling apart. She probably, like my mom, she reminds me a lot like my mom, would say, come here, let's talk about it. Or, you know, tell me what happened. Or here's my advice. You know, the hardest thing about today and being young, and the word says, go to the people that have gray hairs for wisdom. You know? And those that dye their hair.
Yeah, I dye mine.
You know, I dye mine. So we have a lot of wisdom.
I dye mine.
Miriam sounded like she was the eldest in this family. And she is leaving a legacy for you guys to carry on. So all of you back across the United States and online here, carry that legacy on, that love on. She fought through so many things that I can't even imagine. Take your blessings. Don't take things for granted. And get outside and enjoy the beauty that she would paint on things. I saw a little thing that she drew on her cards. The artistic nature she had. That doesn't just happen. She sees things that we don't see. She can paint things that we don't see. She's got a craft, a gift from God. And it doesn't mean you have to be an artist, but find your niche. And if people like something about you, share it more. Be a part of the family. I know it's important as we celebrate this life. When you look at the younger picture of her, as compared to what you saw, you see how we all just kind of like the flowers, the lilies of the field. We're born, the moment we're born, we're starting to pass away. It doesn't seem that way, but even the flowers that come up, the lilies that are fresh, you know, they tend to dwindle down to nothing and go back. Well, with her faith, we all are comforted knowing that for her, it was her faith in her Savior. That gave her those last days when she didn't have dementia, or even with dementia, you can still think that, you know, God is right there next to you. And sometimes you might even be talking to him like he is there. You know, sometimes you don't know. But she knew before that, way before that. She put she was all in. And that's comforting to know. Because I think the God of the universe has enough room for all of us. That's how big he is. As far as the oceans you can see, as deep as they are, that's just one little pebble of his love. It's important that you carry that on. And I know for me, just coming into a family, I'll probably never see you again except on the other side. Hopefully, we don't have another one here in the next 6 months.
Hopefully not.
Maybe
Don't
another
jinx
10 years, 20 years, 96. That means I got like 30-something years to go if I make it that old. I'm shooting for 80. So what a blessed life. That God would say, this is the time to rejoice, not be down, not frown, not be sad, but man, she lived 96 years. My dad, 85. I told my dad, what a blessed life. And he shook his head, yeah, 85 years. She lived 11 years longer than him, so she was doubly blessed. And those last years are hard. For all of us, they're going to be hard. Unless God takes you suddenly, but your mind's going to be prepared for that. Your spirit's going to be ready for that. And thank God they have, helps, medical helps that make it palatable to them. All the blessings of spending quality time on those last days. So I want to just encourage you, charge you. We'll have Ron come up here. He wants to say
I can say it after the show or during, whatever you want.
That's up to you. Come on up.
I'll come up and say it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
I'm sorry I'm so long.
That's okay.
You did good.
We love
No,
it. It's great.
perfect.
From my vantage point in that chair, I had an unexpected view of something that I want to mention. It's a little green and blue statue over there. Can you see what that is?
The elephant.
Oh yeah.
The elephant. Grandpa Al, my father, loved the elephant.
Oh.
Whenever First American helps us distribute their stuff, if you can get a picture, a statue of an elephant, you want to do it. Here's why. Who is it that leads the elephant herd? Who knows?
Mother.
Matriarch.
Matriarch.
The matriarch. My father's father left home at age 13. My mother's father left home at some early age. Both of those, my parents, your great-grandparents, were left with the elephant, so to speak, the women, to take care of the family. And they did. So that elephant symbolizes the role of women in his life. It meant the world. And if you learn about the elephants, learn how they mourn the dead. They look out for the young. They protect each other. He loved the elephant. Take a look before you go. Thank you.
As we close, does anybody else want to say anything? Have an opportunity to talk to people? If not, I'm sure you guys will be talking for years to come. You want to come up and say something?
No.
You'll have years and years to come to talk about it. Never forget. And I know for me, the Proverbs are filled. I think Jennifer shared some more scripture about the Proverbs. I love Proverbs. Because Proverbs tell about the hardy woman that Miriam was. That she endured. Some of the verses here that I love, she rewarded him with good and not bad all the days of her life. She worked at whatever the delight of her hands, gardening, painting, golf. Verse 13 in Proverbs 31. Verse 17, she has girded her hips with strength, probably some titanium too. And she invigorates her arms, strong, enduring, breast cancer, encouraging other women with the issue, dementia, COVID-19 survivor. Her palms stretched out to the afflicted one. Her hands she has thrusted out to the poor one. And she helped those in need. She's a great lady. I mean, it's these great ladies, these grandmas, these great-grandmas, like my mom, one mom is like a saint, like Miriam was, but she can get feisty. She can have a personality too. She's still a saint because she's human. That's what I love about her. And I deserved it. Most of the things, guys, when you get older, you'll say, yeah, I deserved it. When you're going through it, it's rebellion, like, okay. But when you get older, you deserve it. But you love that discipline because she care so much. Yes.
I'll be doing some readings from some off-site participants.
Okay.
So let me know when.
You wanna put that
Are we
down?
ready? Sure. Well, so far, I am incredibly impressed with Chaplain Pondo. I mean, I think, seriously, awesome. Thank you, Jennifer, for finding Pondo online on Facebook. He has a Facebook page, and I encourage you all to look at it. As soon as I looked at his Facebook page, wow, I knew he was the guy for us. I really did. I mean, I was super impressed, and I don't make that up. I'm a straight shooting guy. And it was very impressive. He's a believer in God and a believer in freedom in America, and wow, awesome, loved it. So, we have a few off-site participants, and I wanted to bring them in for a few short comments. Rochelle, an on-site participant, said it's a beautiful place to do the memorial. Absolutely incredible. We have like 180 view of the ocean from here. Maybe it's more than 180 degree view. It's probably about a 270 degree view of the ocean. It was supposed to be 55 degrees today, cold, overcast, and cloudy. That was the forecast even this morning. Even this morning, we've been checking it all week. In Covina this morning, it poured rain. The ground was completely soaked. It was sopping wet and totally overcast. And here we are. Wow, there is not a cloud in the sky. Not a cloud. It is awesome. About 75 or 80 degrees. Incredible. All right. Karen O'Neill says, thanks, cousin. I think that was directed to you, Uncle Ron.
Okay.
Donna Smith, beautiful tribute, thank you. Janet Johnson, thank you for the beautiful memorial. Diane Wiedner Harillo, sorry if I pronounced that. Harillo. Diane Harillo. Ron, you made your mother proud. Karen O'Neill, awesome. Love you all. Rich Woolard, Corey's best friend from up in Washington. Prayers for you all. Karen O'Neill, thank you for that fabulous video of home movies, Jennifer. Jennifer took the bull by the horns and getting those scanned. Linda Perilla, we all love you, Aunt Mem. May you rest in peace. The Ziegler girls learned a lot from Elsie. Nice, humble people. We remember wonderful Thanksgiving and Christmas celebrations where the family was at the forefront and not the presents. Thanks for being you, Mem. Diane, Aunt Miriam was beautiful inside and outside. Sorry for your loss. The celebration was very meaningful. Thanks to all of you. Keep the peace going. Karen O'Neill, Aunt Mimi sent you the day. Absolutely.
Yes, she
it
did.
couldn't be more
She
perfect.
did. She
Seriously.
did. She made it happen.
This is why we pay, 60% of our income in taxes, right? Like, this is the main reason, right? Everyone knows that. The weather. And Karen Hoke,
Yes.
thank you for the walk down memory lane. Aunt Miriam had a generosity of spirit that will be missed in this world. Love to you, love to all of you, and sorry for your loss. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice to know that others are watching and piping in and wishing they could be here, but as we kind of like bring this to a close, it's not an ending. As we bring the service to a close, this celebration, it's not the final curtain. We all believe that Miriam's spirit will always be with us. Carry that with you. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for family. And Lord, indeed, I am a believer in family. And God, you have an amazing touch through people like Miriam that can show how to get through adversity, be a leader of the family, love her children so much, from the oldest to the youngest, the grandkids, the great-grandkids. Lord, you just are so good to us. Life is good. Lord, I just ask that you protect this family as they travel and as they stay here, celebrate the rest of the late afternoon and protect their family near and far. And may they get together a few times a year and reminisce, tell the stories of one of your saints, Miriam. Pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
I'm going to stay here all day.
For the Zoom. Nice going.
It's just too nice.
Good job, Darren. Do you want to cut off the video? Hey, you did it.
Okay, guys. Well, that was our celebration of life for our aunt and grandma and mother and great-grandmother and great-great-grandmother Miriam. She covered it all. And thank you for joining us at this special celebration. I'll give you a little sweeping view here, so you just can all see what we see. This is beautiful Dana Point, California, right near San Clemente, which is one of the places that Al and Miriam lived back in about 2000 to 2005. Thank you to Linda. Thank you, Donna, for joining our live stream. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Gail. It meant a lot that you guys were able to join us. It was really a special occasion for all of us, and thanks again. Hope we all stay in touch, and you know how to get a hold of all of us. And I am holding down the fort here on the West Coast in good old Covina, California, where the grandparents lived for about 40 or 50 years. And I think that's going to be it for us today. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Carol, Gail, Donna, and everyone else from the Allentown family. We love you. We think of you. And we're holding down the fort here for you here on the West Coast. And I hope to get back there to Allentown to see everyone again sometime soon. All right. Love you all, and talk to you soon.